All right, guys, welcome back. Sports Card Culture podcast number 6.
Number 6.
We took a week off for Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving. Today is December 1st. We are here at Pop Culture Archives in Columbia Heights. Is that where we are, or is it Fridley? Columbia Heights?
Columbia Heights.
Columbia Heights is the address.
41st and Central.
Lots to talk about after 2 weeks off. I've been busy selling Christmas trees, so I wasn't even at the shop doing a lot with cards, but I'm back in the swing of it now. We got things rolling. It was a busy weekend, and excited to get back talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So
yeah, you got that weird situation where you own a store, and then during fourth quarter, you tell your partner, hey, I got to go.
Yeah.
With my other business.
Yeah, so Mike, shout out to Mike. Mike's been awesome on this topic. I mean, when we started, I told him, I'm like, basically, like, just so you know, like, from Thanksgiving to Christmas, I'm not a huge help.
It's not a big deal in retail.
No, right.
No,
yeah, it's not a big time. I know, literally, he said Friday at the shop. Shout out to our customers. I've had a couple customers tell us they're regular listeners, so which is fun. I'm glad those guys are listening, and a couple of them I've even referenced, and they've noticed.
Oh,
they
nice.
picked up on that. So
shout
Mark,
out. We got to start selling shout out.
So I guess Friday was swamped. Mike said basically he rang up the first transaction at 8:30. And never stopped until like 4:30, like just one after another. So yeah, it was busy, and we were equally as busy selling trees. Because for those of you that don't know, real Christmas trees are on the rise this year.
Now, why is that?
Well, okay, so annually in the U.S., this is probably hard for you to believe.
Oh, by the way, before you start, Clint knows this full well. I hate all holidays. Not only do I hate real Christmas trees, I hate fake Christmas trees, and I don't like decorations.
Except for John's come to the tree lot with his daughter to get a wreath.
Yeah,
so you kind of compromised a little bit there.
I'll give you a free tree. I'm like, no. Hard no.
Hard no.
We take a wreath.
Hard no. I don't even want to put it up and decorate it. So what do you what does Kirby call you, Grinch? Or
the girls set it up. I'm like, I'm not setting it up. I'm not taking it down. I'm not helping.
Wow. So COVID has not only helped the sports card industry, but the tree industry. So annually, there's 28 million fake trees sold a year, and almost 26 million live trees. Can you believe that nationwide?
Well, what I can't believe is that the fake tree lasts 30 years. Why are we selling so many every year?
Well, I think
worldwide or in the United States?
That's just the U.S. That's the U.S. So I know that's a way bigger number than you would expect, right?
1 out of 10 people.
So, but here's the thing, John. With a fake tree, this is back to my years in the storage units. I regularly saw fake trees in there that like they either get destroyed, they get messed up, the lights quit, and I've actually had 2 or 3 people this year tell me they're putting up a real tree for the first time because their fake tree died. Meaning, the lights start.
So what were the numbers again?
Like 28 and 26 million. So those are huge
50-50.
numbers. So it's about 50-50, but this year one of the things that keeps people from putting up a real tree is travel, because you have to either throw it out early or you can't water it so it dries out and it becomes a fire hazard.
And you can't utilize it.
You can't
100%.
enjoy it. You can't enjoy it. Right?
Okay.
So that's obviously been cut out. Right? With COVID, there's no travel for the holidays unless you're doing it under the guys,
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I would be under the guy.
Right. I think people should still travel. But
no,
unless
what I would
a
say?
smaller
I would say I don't care about the governor, and I'm an American. I do what I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, under the guys.
Yeah, the Constitution's giving you the freedom to kind of do what you want. So the other reason I think is a lot of the money. Well, right now there's not a lot of experiences to go have around Christmas. You can't go see Santa Claus. I think there may be some like weird.
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
In the mall.
You can't go to a sporting event. You can't go to a game, a movie.
Cutting down a Christmas tree
becomes an experience. Yeah, because it's outside. So outside is allowed, and so every single one of our retailers that we sell to said they had a record weekend. So did we, and so anyway. So I came off.
What do you think? What do you think the bump in sales on live trees is? I know it's early, but
we're up 40%.
Wow.
Which equals this: we don't have enough trees for the demand. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to sell out probably a week early and just close up because it's like we just can't cut anymore.
You heard it here. If you want a live tree, you better
go
get
find
your butt down to the lot.
The reality is whatever town you're in, it's happening. Like we have a friend who's in Michigan, and they literally closed after Saturday because as many trees as they can afford to be cut were already cut. They had 100 cars waiting at 9 a.m. on Friday to cut trees.
Whoa. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
I'm ready, John.
Are you ready? Okay. So, the tree lots are going to sell out early.
Yes.
So, if you had a line on used fake Christmas trees for Facebook, you can clean up when they go to the lot and they're sold out and they have to have something up.
Say it again.
So, if you're out of real trees, you got to have a tree. So, if you got a bunch of, like, fake ones,
Yeah, I'm never selling a fake one.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I thought I had it.
It's just against the principle of. It's kind of like a
no,
principle we were
I'm
going
not
to talk
talking
about with you.
I'm talking about just people in general.
somebody,
Like, can you start flipping fake Christmas trees because there's no real ones to buy?
I don't know. I mean, I even know big box stores around us. Like, and a lot of more people are decorating. It's not just trees. Somebody told me they went to a Menards and there was like literally 1 or 2 boxes of Christmas lights left, and they were like $20 a box.
You know, I just thought of something.
A huge
Think about this way with the no travel.
Yeah.
I think we missed a spot. Is not only are you going to buy a new tree because you're not traveling.
Yep.
Instead of 5 families meeting in one house and having that one house decorated,
sure.
now you have 5 houses that need to be decorated.
And I've heard people literally say, 2020 has been so bad. Like, this is the one thing we can do. We're going all out. Like, we're going all out decorating for Christmas.
I would corner the market on trees and wait for the last week. And
people tend
to
spend money on trees, buy them early so they can have them up a long time.
Yeah.
So actually, late sales on trees are usually tire kickers who want a really big discount. They want a $40 Menards.
This year, right?
So we'll literally be, which to me is fine because it's just less work, which equals less labor cost and all those things.
Aren't you just selling the janky trees anyways?
You mean at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the
tire kicker's getting kind of a subpar tree.
Yeah, because the way the market works is obviously they weed out the best stuff first. I mean, the best stuff goes.
Right. So you pick your tree.
Yeah, you pick your tree, right. So,
wow, this was some great sports card content.
Yes, sports card culture podcast. You heard it here first. Real Christmas tree talk.
So I was trying to set you up tonight.
Oh, boy.
And it did not work. Well, it's going to work a little bit. Well, it did not work. I was going to have a surprise guest for the podcast.
Oh, my.
And there were 2 people.
What?
And neither one of them could do it. So I'm sad. So anyway,
And are you going to tell me who they are? Or is that part
well, you won't know who they are, but there are a couple customers. So,
nice.
So I'm setting up K-Bed, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Clint drops off a bunch of stuff. And he's like, hey, I bought this. We talked about it in the previous podcast. Like, you bought a Pokemon collection. There was a grip of fake ones in there. And some lady goes, hey, don't throw those out. People will play with them, and then that way they don't have to use their real one.
Yep.
And I remember,
or they don't have to buy the real one; it's just super expensive.
And so I was like, okay, and I didn't think anything of it. Mm-hmm. So then, this was like 3rd podcast, and then you come over.
And John and I had a full-on blow.
Yeah, Clint went to war, and I was just like,
I went to war over your principle of like some moral standard of like I won't sell a fake item, even though the fake is being disclosed as being fake. Because I'll say this much.
Right. So that was the setup. The setup was, hey, can you put this in K-Bed, disclose that they're not real, and then people can use them, right?
Yep.
I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. And Clint's like, how dare you? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I'll talk to my guys because this was the day of the Vivid Voltage release. I was having a party.
Yep.
That night I was really sad because the governor had it where you couldn't have a meeting, whatever, and it started at 10 o'clock that night. And I wanted to get to 10:01 and take a picture. Everybody giving the middle finger to the governor.
Yeah, nice.
But they all left at like 9:30.
Governor Tim Jung-Walls.
Yeah.
Our great leader.
So while everybody was setting up, we're getting ready for Vivid Voltage, and we're kind of waiting. I said, hey, guys, I got Pokemon cards I want to show you.
Yeah.
And, like, I already had, like, 15 people in the shop. And they all got up and, like, and they started getting really excited. I'm like, you need to chill out. This is not what you think it is. And I was like,
so you prefaced it. Do you think they would have noticed what they were?
Yeah, they would have noticed. Yeah. And so these are legit. Like, these are hardcore collectors, right? And so I said, hey, so I got these cards. And we talked about that. You got it set. And I said, I'll show them to the guys tonight,
Yeah.
And
let the experts speak.
Yeah, right. And so I showed them to the guys, and I'm like, hey, so we had heard that, like, you guys can play with these cards even though they're not real. And the first comment was, man, these are doo-doo. Like, that quote, right?
Nice.
And so here's what I find out. Not only can you not play with fake cards, you will get banned from every tournament for playing with.
I'm not talking about tournaments,
so
official tournaments.
Ban.
That's not what it's. You and your friend want to play, and you're 12 years old, and you can't afford a $40 Charizard. That's the context.
Yeah.
I don't think we're talking about I was never talking about official tournaments. I was talking about a kid.
I get that you
who
weren't,
wants
but
to play the game.
If we're talking where like you're literally getting banned for being in your deck at a tournament. I feel
but I'm not
comfortable not selling.
Not okay. I still don't agree with your logic. I wouldn't have said they would have been official for a tournament.
Well, I know I'm not saying that you did, but
okay.
I'm saying like that's so bad. Like we've gotten to war. So
let me say this, John. We at our store we don't sell fake or counterfeit items under the guise of being real. That's dishonest. That's a false witness.
Well, here's the thing.
But I've sold what is a actual counterfeit. In other words, it was not made as a reprint of a Jordan rookie, but it looks the same for a discounted price, and I write on there reprint, counterfeit, or whatever you want to put, however you want to disclose it. This is not the real thing, but there's still a value in that it represents or is a photo identical to the real thing that's cost so much that now there's, we're not pawning them off as the real thing and ripping people off.
And I remember Mark at Papa Hogs. What up, Mark? Had one, and I was talking to him about that. I'm like, dude, like, what's the deal? He's like, people want them, and I'm like, all right, fair enough. And I think that's where, in the hobby, there's only a handful of cards like basically Jordan rookie. I can't think of another card.
52 mantle. I mean,
52 mantle,
all sorts of stuff.
And then so
Honus Wagner.
And I think you took that and was like, oh, okay, over here.
Yeah.
And
let's give our listeners a background on this. The context is years of John refusing to sell jerseys that are.
I won't sell counterfeits.
They are actually jerseys. They're physically a jersey, but they're not licensed by the NBA, and so they haven't paid the royalties, and the quality is usually cheaper. Yeah, the quality is cheap. But what I've said is you're not doing the market a favor if that item's already there.
I'm not trying to do a market a favor.
But yeah, you are. You're a proprietor, right? Aren't you trying to serve the market that is your customer, or do you have a different motivation in this business?
Well.
Pursuit here.
My motivation on that is the fakes are depressing the values of the real, so that's one thing. But two, they're fake.
No, here's what they're doing. They're allowing. I disagree with that. They are not depressing the value of the real.
Yeah.
They're allowing a customer an opportunity to enter the market at a lower price point that they would not otherwise. It doesn't depress it.
They can buy a screen print replica. That's a lower price point of the same jersey.
Yeah, but it might not be sewn. It might not. That's what I'm saying.
It's literally the same jersey. It's just not sewn.
Yep. So why not allow the sewn to be enjoyed and worn by a person playing a pickup basketball game that wants a sewn one? Because now you're gonna single-handedly stop those from coming from China. Like, let me give you the Let me give you the logic on this. We actually had a customer the other day who made a comment, which I think at the heart of it, I get their point, but their point was, I don't like what's happening with the retail sports card market where someone's going to walking into Walmart and buying everything on the shelf and then reselling it for more.
Yeah.
And the one guy's like, I'm not going to do that. And some of the distributors have even made decisions to kind of change their schedule so people can't anticipate when they're going to be there. And their whole purpose was, I want there to be cards on the shelf for a kid. And here's what I told him. I said, but you understand why is, it doesn't matter. So instead of 8 people being there waiting and each of them getting a box, all you're doing now is one person's going to stumble on them, and they're still going to buy all 8 of them because the markup is high enough. The market itself has determined that there's a demand for that. And I would say the same is true with a counterfeit, fake Chinese jersey.
Hard disagree.
What's that?
Hard disagree.
Okay, so
I don't even understand how you're connecting those two things.
Here's what I'm saying is your unwillingness to sell it is not going to stop it from being made or purchased.
I didn't say it would.
Okay, so then what's your stance as to why you're not going to?
Well, one, there is a perception by your customers if you got a bunch of fake goods in there.
No, because you're disclosing these are not authentic. It's not a bunch of fake goods.
That's not going to matter.
Yes, it is going to matter.
Not in the jersey market.
Okay.
Not in the jersey market.
In a non-collector market.
Even in the card, let's say I made up a bunch of fake mosaic cards that are brand new, and you're just like, I'm just going to disclose them. You don't think there's going to be any perception issues by your customers? Like, why are you selling this?
Yeah, but this is different because so let me say this: if you walked into a let's say you're not a collector of jerseys, but you walk into a thrift store and you're a mom and your kid is a big fan of Michael Jordan, and she sees a Jordan jersey and she buys a fake Chinese jersey. Is that somehow lowering the value of the authentic? No, no, it's not. How? Because she's not going to buy it Oh, authentic.
That's not the point. The point is when it gets into the ecosystem, it goes on eBay, it goes on the secondary market. People are portraying. You're assuming that everybody's being honest.
That's
almost nobody's being honest.
What I'm saying is I'm being honest, and the reality is
on the flip side, nobody else is being honest. They're all selling it as authentic when it's not. Uneducated people are buying it, and it's depressing the market of the rest of the stuff.
And that's a problem. The problem though is not in the. So we have two different issues. Here's what I'm just and actually
we're arguing the same point.
You're arguing, we're arguing the same point. Sides. So here's my point: is are you taking the stance of not selling it because you think that's going to somehow compensate or shift the tide away from the dishonest people? Or
I think what we're falling into a trap of, and there's probably a name for this fallacy. But we're falling into the fallacy of saying that there's one key reason for anything. So, like, whenever you're in an argument, like, the key is there's no key.
There's no key.
And so the reason why I don't sell fakes are multiple reasons.
Okay, give them to me. And I would love to hear these.
One is the perception of the business.
Okay, so your perception.
Counterfeit items.
But if you're, and here's what I'm saying is that problem is something you can control by being honest, disclosing, and them trusting the fact that you're never going to sell them a counterfeit that you know is counterfeit under the guise of being authentic.
Nah, I think what I'm going to end up doing, though, is I think I am – this is kind of aside from what I was about to go down is on YouTube, I think I'm going to go live, and I am going to start buying fake jerseys, and I'm going to start destroying them on YouTube. That'll be awesome. Sorry, poor mom who can't get their kid – maybe you can tell your kid, save up your money and buy the real thing.
Yeah, but don't you think the real thing – here's all they're paying for in the real thing is often – okay, it's a smaller quality, but they're just paying the NBA license. So all you're arguing is the NBA should get their money.
It's a massive amount of quality.
So it's not a massive amount of quality. No, there's good fakes. There's really good fakes. Why is it that you need an expert often to tell you the difference?
I'm going to tell you something. I've had I have a Jeremy Shockey authentic Giants jersey. I've washed it literally 150 times, and I don't take care of my jerseys. I throw them in the corner. I put them on the chair. I sit on them. They look almost as good as the day I bought it 10 years ago.
Okay, I understand that. I understand the quality of an authentic, but the quality of a screen print or a Champion back in the day, like I have Champion jerseys I grew up with where the numbers are totally worn off.
Oh, yeah, they're blown out.
So okay,
that's your lowest price point that we're talking about.
But I'm saying is what you're ultimately arguing is the NBA deserves that licensing.
I've never made deserve. That's a weird argument.
Or they're entitled to it, and I'm going to fight for their right to.
Well, then we just make a bunch of homemade cards.
Because what makes an authentic jersey? I think. So let me ask you this: if someone came out and made an authentic jersey with the same quality, and you disclosed it, would you then have no problem selling it? I love these hypotheticals.
Well, if he made an authentic shell, that would be a bootleg. If the shell was authentic and they attuned it, which is called attunement, like you change the player, you swap out the numbers.
Make it custom?
That's accepted.
What is?
Attunement's accepted.
Okay.
So a lot of what we're talking about, too, is what's accepted by the market.
Sure.
The jersey guys...
And when they come in I will admit, you're way more familiar with this market than I am.
Well, here's the thing. Like, a legit jersey guy, if I'm selling fakes, he's going to be like, nah, I ain't going to be about this business, and he's going to leave.
Sure.
That's what's going to happen. Right?
Now, I haven't found that in the card market. Like, if you disclose...
No, I don't know about the Pokemon market, but, I'll put it this way, not a single person even offered me a penny for those cards. And I had 15, 16, 17 people.
Yeah, all I know is I'm going off the advice of a customer of mine who knows. And I have no idea on the market, so I'm taking their word as like there's no reason for that.
But I thought that was kind of fun. The funniest part was when I broke them out, everybody started running over the counter. I'm like, whoa.
You guys aren't going to like this.
Chill out.
Well, and it's interesting for those of you guys out there. I mean, I learned sometimes the education comes painfully. I mean, I bought this collection from this woman who I don't think had any nefarious intentions by selling these to me, but all the older cards were authentic. The newer cards were not. And the reality is, like, I should have known by looking at the back of the card. Now I do. I know how to look for, color variations and also the raised
it is kind of
hollow
hard.
of the
It is kind of hard, but you definitely feel
Well, and let me say this. Now that Pokemon has gotten as valuable and there's as much money in the market as there is, obviously it's just something you got to be careful of. I mean, I was just talking to you before we got on air here about the Charizard original first edition hollow shadowless, the top of the top, PSA 10.
Tippity top.
Just sold on auction for $275,000.
Yeah, didn't we
and
talk about this 2 podcasts ago? And the previous sale I saw was $150.
And you could have bought this card, which I have a friend who's also a dealer in Chicago who owns one. Mm-hmm. I believe the value of that card less than 2 years ago was around $20,000.
Wow.
So I mean, we're talking.
Well, I mean that's still a big number.
27x.
But yeah, big number turned to a ridiculous number.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous number. I mean, there are hardly any sports cards from 1999 or newer that have ever touched that price.
Right. Yeah, usually vintage.
Obviously you've had some hit the $1 million mark, like the LeBron exquisite RPAs, and there's a couple, but card could have been in your if you're a parent listening to this,
I had one in my hand.
Your parent, your kid could have one right now in their room,
Absolutely.
In a box, and you don't even know. We just had one come in, not the first edition, but we had an original Charizard come in.
25-year-old kid who's still at home could have one.
And it was creased up. Yeah, no, right. So I mean that's crazy. I mean the Pokemon world is, yeah. So anyway,
all right. So I got a little thing that's the tiniest thing in the world, but I told him I was going to talk about on the podcast, and I'm going to start using this, and I wanted to offer it to you for something to start at your shop too, if you wanted to. So my new dealer Damien.
What up, Damien? Thanks for the Durant.
What's happening? Yep. And his friend Zach were in here. Right, and this was the night that the Kaboom got pulled. So, a customer pulled a Tua Kaboom out of a absolute blaster.
Nice, very cool,
right?
Great pull.
So we're talking about it, and his friend Zach's like, "I gotta open something. I just have to do it." And we've all been there, right? Mm-hmm. But Damien just all of a sudden goes, "He's got the fever." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "He got the fever," and I'm like, I'm gonna start saying that from now on. Whenever someone's like, I gotta open something, I got the fever. So I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And
we've referenced many things.
The only
like
prescription
is more cowbell.
More sports cards.
Is more wax. Ripping wax.
Yeah, it was just something funny. I'm gonna start saying that now.
I've seen a guy get on the roll before with the fever, and next thing you know, the entire product that we got in is gone. Which, by the way, big release this Friday. Prism football releases, and
how much are you getting? I'm getting 0.
32 boxes of hobby, and we've pre-sold 21 of them at $1,000 a box. Sure. They've already sold. So I'm only going to have 11 in store, and then we're already looking at rebuying at a massively higher price. But if we can even get them, it's going to be crazy. I mean, just to give you an idea, that box last year, a Prism football hobby box was $400.
Yeah, and that was high.
And then if you go back to 2017, when Patrick Mahomes was a rookie, we had Prism that year.
150?
$100.
$100.
Maybe at the very second, third rebuy, maybe $1.25.
That's nice.
That box now, we just looked it up. Mike and I just laughed. We're like, how did we not keep one of those? $6,000 on the retail market
for a 17
Prism box.
Crazy.
So you're gonna have obviously a certain amount of people that are gonna sit on those boxes. I think now. But I mean, back then, if you'd have told me that $100 box had the potential to be $6,000, I would have been like, "You're crazy." I would have held boxes if I thought they had a chance to be 1,000, even 500. I mean, that was just unheard of. You weren't seeing wax appreciate within a year, let alone. I mean, nothing was doing that.
No, I mean, you were seeing, even Trout probably didn't hit, and I don't know this, but probably not until 14.
No, you could buy 11 update boxes for.
I was talking about 09 draft.
09 draft boxes,
because it took them a couple years to get called up, and then, but even that. So we got a big topic to talk about.
Oh, boy.
Some news in the hobby.
Buckle up, yes.
A investor group led by Nat Turner, who I think you're aware of. I was not aware of him.
To a lot of stuff,
He is leading an investor group to buy out PSA for $700 million.
So let's actually, I just want to give people a background. So PSA, he's actually not buying PSA. He's buying Collector's Universe, which is which for those of you that are investors, the ticker symbol is CLCT. So it's been a publicly traded company since I want to say 90. When did they start? Late 90s, I think they became public.
About right.
And right now, I own their stock, so I actually looked. They agreed to buy out at 75 a share. Right now, the stock is at over 77. So there's going to be but they're not closing the deal till the 1st of January.
Wait. So I know a little bit about stocks. I'm curious why it's selling for over the agreed upon price.
Because people think it's worth more than that. So in other words, they're not willing to.
But you have to sell it, don't you?
That price, I'm not sure that they're guaranteed to buy that price because I don't have to sell my stock.
Are you sure? I don't think that's true.
I think the closer they get to the agreed upon date, that the price. Well, here's the question then: if that's true, I should sell mine at 77 then.
Well, I would. So now I'm second guessing that maybe you don't have to sell it. You're just a private shareholder.
So for those of you that
I don't know,
a little background to Nat Turner. Those of you guys who know who he is, he's like a serial entrepreneur. He sold, I believe, his first company when he was in like his mid-20s.
Oh yeah. He looks like he's 12.
I literally think he's like 32, right? Is that right?
34.
34. Okay, so he's 34. He's already exited, I want to say, 2 or 3 companies. His last being over, I think it was like a $2 billion exit.
2 of the companies were Blue Apron and LifeLock were the 2 that I recognize.
Yep. There's another one. His biggest one was a company that I believe dealt with. They produced the software that most of the hospitals and clinics use for billing. It's something related to
because he's the nerd, right?
He's an IT guy. So, but he's a huge collector, and so if you've ever listened to him, he was the one who famously bought the green PMG Jordan for $350. Yep. Oh, wow. So you can have there's actually a cool YouTube. We can maybe link it to this podcast.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Interview of him talking about his collecting, and he basically. The cards he buys, if he likes something, like he tells the story. The reason he collects PMGs is similar to us. When he was little, he opened a pack and pulled like a, I don't know, Derek Harper, some random common, a PMG red, I believe. Right. And it got him in on, he goes, literally, if these cards, I loved hearing this from him. He goes, if these cards were worth nothing, I still would buy them and collect them. I love it,
No,
but
I'm
now
still
obviously
fixated on my big man on court Jordan that I pulled and that I should have reacquired in 17.
Right. And so it's interesting to see how PSA improves. The big question is he obviously sees an opportunity.
Yeah.
I also think as a collector, he probably feels the pain that a lot of collectors do of. I mean, I talked to a guy yesterday who was like, I've had cards at PSA for 5-6 months. And they're not like a business like you and I where it's like you can afford to forget about those cards and keep selling other items.
Well,
like
I'll add something to that. So I found out about this because on my YouTube stream, there's a guy I follow. I can't say his name. Phil Minton. So he has a sports card channel. I just whatever reason I subscribed to him, he must have had a video that I liked. And that's what I saw. I was like, oh, man. And so they did. It was a really good video. Definitely look it up. We'll attach that one, too.
Yep. I read the article. So it's an investor group led by Nat Turner, but there's like 2 venture capitalist groups that are partnering with him.
So this was 2 guys having a conversation about it. And here's a couple of things that they came up with. One, there's an assumption that there's 1 million to 2 million card backlog at PSA.
Yep.
And the guy he was talking to was a CPA. Mm-hmm. CPAs don't really do financial analysts, so I think he was overstating his abilities on that side. But I think he had a good financial analysis.
Yep.
That he had thought that they were using the backlog to control their earnings. Mm. So for those of you who don't know about like how public stock is
perceived,
desired by the shareholder. The shareholder always wants to see a very fast return on their investment. And so one of the things that like makes Warren Buffett different, he's like he could give a rat's butt about your return in the next 6 months.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why he's such a good investor.
He's building a long term.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he's in it for the long haul.
And his investors are like that. That's why he never splits the stock.
Well, and that's the problem with the get rich quick idea in investing is like as quickly as it goes up, it comes down. He's like, I want to build a foundation that.
But what happens is public companies all the time make malinvestment. They make decisions that will help their stock in the short term to keep their shareholders happy, but in the long term, it makes for a very poor decision.
Yep.
And so one of the things this guy was talking about was he had thought maybe they're using the backlog to control their earnings so they could constantly show an improvement in profit or whatever metric they were trying to hit, and make their shareholders happy.
Sure.
Where it has maybe not as much to do with just
making
capacity.
or making the customer happy.
Or making the customer happy. So it might not be just an issue of capacity. It might be an issue of strategically controlling the earning. That's one thing he thought. He had brought up a concept about on the tech side, potentially using robotics to grade the cards.
Sure.
And what that would mean for the hobby. And I'm not going to get into what they talked about because you can watch that video, and the guy who came up with the idea is going to do a much better job.
Let me throw out a topic that came to my mind initially is, and this came up, so I found out about one of our big customers came into the shop that morning. I think it was yesterday morning, right? Yeah, it was yesterday morning. And he brought up, he goes, "Did you hear PSA just sold for $700 million?" Nat Turner bought him. I said, "No." And he said, I wonder, though, if that doesn't pose a conflict of interest because obviously...
No, I've already heard that.
You don't think so?
No, okay, so I've already had... so in the comments that's happened a bunch of times, and Blowout, they were talking about this, I had 2 customers bring that up.
Yep.
So what you're... I know I cut you off, but the
concept is... Because this guy has many millions of dollars worth of cards. Right. He has the only PSA 10... Hank Aaron rookie.
And so the concept is
pop one.
He's going to have cards and put 10s on cards.
No, not that way as much as.
Okay.
I'm not saying directly he's going to, I don't think there's a conflict of interest in his personal cards getting a better grade.
Okay.
As much as, here's the personal interest I was thinking is.
Okay.
He wants to get cards back quicker like we all do. And he wants to get cards back to the customer quicker. Do they compromise their integrity on grading, meaning their standard right now is what makes them valuable? If they try to hire a bunch of people with a business mindset that doesn't understand the nuances of collecting, that therefore the conflict of interest being he has a conflict between him as a collector and him as a business guy, right? Whereas in the sense of, so
no,
you don't think so?
Because how does Nat Turner change any of that? A business.
He's making decisions as to who they're hiring for graders.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is,
if you actually,
every business wants to make. I don't think Nat Turner changes who they hire and how many people they hire.
Well, I think one of the big reasons they bought the company, I think one of the primary motivations is they need to speed up turnaround times, right? And so the question is, can you speed up turnaround times and not compromise?
Are you doing that PSA is not trying to speed up turnaround time?
No, I think PSA right now is more concerned about the quality of the grading being consistent across the board, and cards not just being run through and not graded properly.
Here's the thing, and now my central point to what I was saying. So I apologize. I thought I knew what road you were going down.
Yeah.
And so they were like, he's gonna have collection and make decisions. But I think my final point to my customer, or actually this was Damien, was the last person I talked to about. What up, Damien? Where they go, $700 million.
Yeah.
The stupid Jordan rookie.
Doesn't matter at all.
Who cares?
No,
but here's what I'm saying for you.
Yep.
Are they going to hire a bunch of people and run them through and have the quality go down and ruin his $700 million investment?
That's the danger, right?
You get what I'm saying? No, I'm not saying it couldn't happen. Yep. Corporations make dumb decisions all the time.
I don't know if you looked at. I actually looked last night on PSA's PSA's Twitter. Joe Orlando, the former CEO,
is he still the CEO?
I don't know if he.
I had heard that he's going to remain.
He's going to remain the CEO. Okay, so he'll remain. However he remains on. Yeah, he's been on for a long time. He had a tweet a while back, a few months ago. I just kind of scrolled through his Twitter, and he had a tweet of the fact that PSA was hiring graders. And I actually opened up the application because I was curious to see, what are they interested in? And, some of the questions were very nuanced as to, can you work by yourself for 8 hours a day and stay focused? Because, grading is, it's not one of those things where you go, you're it's a solitary activity, and it's 2 hours in, you can't just start, rushing through a card because you're tired or you're whatever your motivation is gone or whatever. And so what makes card grading worth something is the fact that it's done non-biasly and thoroughly. And so that's the reason, though, and this is to the scale point, as a lot of business owners have the ability to scale businesses, and that's what makes them successful. The PSA specifically makes for a tough scale because I've been doing cards and grading personally.
Right.
I've probably graded in my life 15,000 cards in like 6 years, and I think I would be a greenhorn grader. Like I could grade for PSA, but I would not.
Don't they have a competition at the National?
Yeah, yeah, they do.
Yeah, how'd you do? Didn't you?
I did not
you
partake in it,
you were
but
going to.
the guys from Minnesota won it a few years ago, and actually one of the things I know that.
Explain the contest.
Yeah, so the contest is they actually run you through and have you grade cards, and they give you a card, you break down the grade, and you have to.
Is it PSA or BGS?
A PSA.
PSA.
And I think I don't know how many cards, but there's a certain amount of time you get. And at the end, they have their grades they already know on the cards, and then they take and see who is the closest, right? And I know that the one year that some guys from 3 Stars, great, I think Eric and Wayne maybe won it. I know one of the biggest differences, one of the things they recognized that most people missed was that cards were trimmed. And the cards were too small. Yeah. And so, like, I made a rookie mistake the other day. I bought a Jordan rookie and sent it into grade, and I didn't notice that the top right corner had gotten – because part of it is – so this is where I got lured in. Not lured in by the sense I don't think this guy had any, like, idea what had happened. Right. But there was this older gentleman who had the card. The story lined up. I knew it was authentic. Right. I looked over the condition. I found there was a little crease, whatever. Mm-hmm. But there had been a slight – pen mark of red that they had recolored it. Like I don't think he had recolored it, but I think maybe whoever sold it to him had recolored it. Somebody had touched that corner with red, and it didn't bleed to the side of the card. For those of you guys who like are familiar, like a lot of times you'll look at the edge of the card to make sure there's no color that's bled down.
The edge of a Jordan Brown.
It's gonna be white. It's white.
It is white.
Yep. And so normally you can see the red. Well, they colored it well enough where they didn't put it far enough down.
Yeah, they let it bleed out to the edge. Yeah. Instead of going to the edge.
Going to the edge. And so PSA caught it, and it came back altered. And so now I have an authentic altered Jordan that's nice.
A on it?
Yeah, and actually, so when I sent it the first time, I didn't ask for just authentic. So it came back not slapped.
So you're going to have to send it back?
So it's already on the way back. And I mean,
it's still a real card.
I'm gonna make a little bit, and it looks really nice. Yeah. But like classic thing that your average card person might not look for is like, first of all, to measure the card. So I always try to measure.
I've never measured a card.
Measuring vintage that's really, really clean is super important.
And then, of course, it depends on the card. Like, I'm not going to measure every card that comes in here, but maybe a 93 SP Jeter and a Jordan rookie and a
or a vintage card that looks super sharp.
Right.
One of the reasons cards are smaller and they're trimmed is because you can trim away a bad edge and corner. Yeah. And literally they might be taking a 16th off.
Right.
But if you measure it up to one that's full size, and the other thing you're looking for when you measure,
some of these cards are naturally smaller because they got cut wrong at the factory.
And if they are small, which Jeter rookies are a great example, those are regularly too small. So if they're they call it min sizing. If it's min size, they won't give it a number grade. And so even though it wasn't altered, buying one knowing it's too small, it means it's never going to get a number grade unless you go to Beckett, which means a lot less value.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, so anyway, back to PSA. I mean, what else?
I don't know. I think what a lot of people from just reading comments, they were happy about the purchase because they feel that if a collector is going to be, and here's the thing, he's not going to be running day to day. He's an investor. He's an angel investor. That's what he does.
But he's also intimately aware of the hobby, which you need that. You don't want a regular investor group without a guy like him buying it.
Is there a chance that because of his input, because he has so much money into it, because of his input, will it get better somehow?
Yep.
Because he's looking at it from a collector's standpoint too.
Yeah.
But I will give you this in terms of the short-term gains. Mm-hmm. One, taking it private means that you don't have to worry about short-term gains. Yep. And second, they're doing about a 30% premium on the value of the company, right?
Yep.
And so that means it's what, $200 and whatever $million.
Wait, what do you?
So based on what the market price was at before they made the offer.
No, wrong. The market
I
price
heard it was at 30%.
No,
30% premium.
No. So when they made the offer, I'll tell you right now, before they made the offer, shares were at $70 a share, and there's 170,000.
What was it a week before?
170. times 70. The market cap right now at $77 a share is $716 million. So I want to say I think he gave about a $3 to $4 per share premium.
You know what though? It wasn't 30% based on it was a specific thing. It was like 30% based on the 60-day rolling.
Well, and right now, like one of the reasons I own PSA was I thought it was a good. I mean, their price to earnings ratio is actually really high. It's 50.
Yeah.
So for those of you aware, like price to earnings, how much that share
the bigger
earns,
the number, the less money they're making relative to the share.
How many shares are printed? So, like, give you an idea, Tesla's price to earnings is like 1,100. Whereas, guess what Berkshire Hathaway's is? They're A stock.
Oh, geez. What, 15?
I just looked up. I think it's like 12, dude.
12, yeah.
Which,
what's up?
Which it's unbelievable to think.
I pulled 15 out of my butt, by the way. I knew it low.
Here, I'll tell you right now. Berkshire A is 15. No, you're right. 15.4.
I'm so awesome. Anyway, so basically, just to be very clear to people, what price to earnings means is, let's say everything stayed the same forever for that 1 year, which it won't, but let's say it does. If it's 15, that means it'll take 15 years for you to make enough profit to pay for the share.
Right.
If it's 1,000, it'll take 1,000.
Well, and what it's also saying is, if you take your earnings and divide it by how many shares you have, divided by the price.
No, right.
That's
but I wanted to give what the theory of it. It just means it would take 15 years for you to make all your money back on a Berkshire Hathaway share.
Correct.
Whereas it's 1,100 years, which seems weird. Usually, the bigger the number, the more growth that company has.
Yes.
So Coke has a low P&E.
Yes. Super low. But it also tells you
penny stock has a massive
but let me give you an idea of so the value of a company like Apple. So Apple's market share is $2 trillion.
Yeah.
Right? But their price to earnings is only 35.
Right.
So it's very small relative to their size. So I mean, I think PSA, it's going to be interesting to see if they have the ability to sustain the growth. But I think where they gain value is right now you have a certain consumer.
Yeah.
And you probably have these customers who, let's say they have 20 cards at PSA. Mm-hmm. They're waiting for that card to come back to sell it before they grade their next card. And if that time gets cut in half, PSA is going to capitalize on grading 2 cards during that time versus 1.
Well, how about this? How about you lose that customer because it's taking so long, and they just drop out of the hobby.
You drop out of the hobby.
They like the grading aspect.
Well, because the flipping game is what's fueling a lot of the amount of people grading. So I mean, PSA has. I'm excited because I think anytime you have a new ownership leadership who's obviously successful in business and loves the hobby, you have potential for growth. And obviously,
I think the second part of that, the bigger point.
Well, and let me say this: what does it also tell you about Nat Turner? He's not a fool. He's smart with his money.
Yeah.
He thinks that this isn't a bubble. He doesn't think we're at the peak.
Yeah, that was something I said. I mean, that's obviously he's saying.
And obviously, they're studying analytics. He knows all the back numbers that PSA is seeing. They know they're increase, and they're not seeing anything slow down. And he doesn't anticipate a slowdown. Right. Obviously,
one of the other things I had heard that some people had thought they were going to spin off the coin section of the business.
Makes sense.
They were just going to spin off. Just means they're going to sell that as its own company to somebody, and just focus on the sports card side. And that was just conjecture. I don't know.
Now, the conflict of interest that I will bring up another conflict of interest, which is I don't know who owns or is investing in these other venture capitalist groups that are with him. But the danger or the concern would be a company like Four Sharp Corners, who literally they might grade 100,000 cards a year.
Yeah.
They're coming in as an investor, and they're also getting hundreds of thousands of their cards graded. That where you have a bunch of guys who are getting their cards graded that now are in
I'm going to argue $700 million.
You don't think the sports card hobby is doing more than $700 million?
No. But what I'm arguing is we're going to benefit this one guy, potentially hurt the entire business.
No, I'm saying the whole group. I don't know.
But you understand what I'm saying.
But you understand who I'm saying is. But you understand what I'm saying is. What other businesses do these venture capitalists own? That's the question,
I understand that. But I keep going back to the amount of money that this thing's worth.
But you realize that this amount of money is not that much for these venture capitalists either.
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing. No, but I mean, Nat alone has exited a multi-billion.
Yeah, I understand
company.
that, but why are we spending so much money on something just to get a short-term gain?
No, I don't think it's a short-term gain. But and this is, anytime there's corruption in industry,
true.
There's these marriages between,
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Corporations, especially in mergers and acquisitions, ruin companies all the time.
For sure.
I'm not arguing it's impossible. I'm just arguing it's a lot of money to be ruining.
Yeah. No, and no one's wanting to. I mean, he obviously has a huge motivation to not ruin it when you're.
And he's holding a lot of personal cards that are going to be worthless when PSA is worthless.
Well, and if PSA's reputation goes down the drain, so do all his cards, right?
Right, and that's what I keep saying. Is if you ruin the reputation, you're basically ruining a $700 million asset to get a gain somewhere else,
which doesn't
equal that.
Well, and actually, I've argued your exact point with customers who have been like, "Hey, can I trust that PSA is actually shipping my card?"
And it's just podcast. It's like nah, they're not going to ruin their business for.
Hey, they can make $15 for grading your card,
right?
And they can grade 100 cards quicker than they can swap out and sell and.
That might not be a completely accurate time investment, but
yeah.
So Steve. My buddy Steve.
What up, Steve?
So he gave us some feedback on the podcast.
I love it. I want to hear it.
Right. So he's just he's like, you got to start taping the podcast. You need video with the podcast, and I agree with him.
You want to see what kind of?
We'll hook that up. I don't know why anybody wants to look at me, but maybe we'll just focus it on your beautiful whatever.
I'm growing a beard out too now, so like Paul
Bunyan. So he had a couple of feedback. One, he goes, he hates Matt Ryan, and he thinks that I'm full of crap.
Wow, I love it,
suggesting
Steve.
that Matt Ryan is a good investment.
I'll say this much: today I had a customer open a box of Super Break football. It's called Heavy Hitters. It's a repackaged product, and they got 2 graded cards in that box. It was a $200 box. One of them was a Matt Ryan Topps Chrome PSA 9, and they almost threw it at me.
Yeah,
so they were very disappointed getting Matt Ryan.
How much is that product?
Yeah, it's like $200 a box.
Yeah.
But they got another card that was like
no, but I'm
50.
Saying,
yeah, no.
If I open a $200 box and the break,
but I'll say apart from that, like the player itself disappointed them. I think Matt Ryan for some reason like just isn't liked. I don't know why. It's like he reminds me of.
Yeah, as of 2 weeks ago, he was leading the league in passing.
I know, it's weird. Like no one gives him credit for that. No, he doesn't have the hype. He doesn't.
The other thing he had argued, and I forgot to look this up.
Good feedback,
I meant to do it. He thinks that the Tom Brady Upper Deck rookie is undervalued.
I agree.
And I don't know anything about this card.
Well, he's got a couple of them. I have one. Are we referring to the blue one?
I don't know which one he's referring to.
So
I was gonna do the research.
There's a blue and a green. There's well, I'm trying to think. That year, there's also a UD Exclusives, which that's an Upper Deck card. That's numbered to 1250. That one, I don't think he's referring to that one.
As well?
No, the standard Upper Deck is not.
Yeah, it would have been nice for me to do some research before we taped the podcast, before I brought it up. But he didn't give me any more information.
That's okay.
So I blame Steve.
I'm gonna pull up the one. I'll show you the one I'm talking about.
But he was just adamant that we needed video, and I'm completely wrong about.
So that that's the one I'm think he's referring to. There's also a green one that's the Upper Deck Encore. That's
I think
similar
it's the
photo.
Blue one, then.
The Star Rookie one. Yeah, the Star Rookie is like the big LeBron Upper Deck one too. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm looking here. Last sold raw 185. I keep finding 250 and invariably conditions an issue here. 300. Yeah, I mean $300 for a Tom Brady Upper Deck rookie. And those were short printed that year, if I remember correctly. The rookies. So I don't know. That's what Steve thinks. Time will tell.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady. We had a long debate.
And he wasn't arguing Tom Brady. He was just arguing that one card.
So I have a text thread that I run with a bunch of guys that we talk sports betting, sports cards.
Hey,
we have a text thread. You want to get it on that text thread? You haven't met these guys yet, but hopefully we'll have one of them on here at some point. And we had a long debate about Justin Herbert.
Okay.
And as good as Justin Herbert's been and the year he's having, I argued there's still more upside in Tom Brady's cards than Justin Herbert's.
Yes.
Because there's way less risk.
For any good rookie in his rookie year.
And there's way less risk with Tom Brady. So Tom Brady has more potential upside and way less possible downside. And yet it's funny how overly excited and zealous everyone is for Justin Herbert. And the problem is here, and here's what I said to him. I argued, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. My concern with Justin Herbert is, one, I don't think the Chargers are going to win a Super Bowl anytime soon. And for quarterbacks to take the next step like Mahomes has taken, you have to win in the playoffs, in big games. I think Herbert's nice. I think he's on a decent team. I think they're above 500. They're going to be like a maybe first-round playoff team for a few years. But like, if I was going to guess the over/under on how many Super Bowls he's going to win in his career, I'd say it's one. Is he going to win? Is he going to win one or not? Right? At all?
Yeah.
Like, and I look at a guy like Mahomes. Like, even Mahomes, as good as he is and as good as his team is, like, if he wins 3 Super Bowls in his career, I'd be shocked. Like, that'd be more than I would expect. Right? Tom Brady has 6, John.
I think
Tom Brady has more Super Bowls than Patrick Mahomes, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. Who else has won a Super Bowl in the NFL? Combined. All of them combined. Like, Aaron Rodgers won one in 2009, and he hasn't won one since. Like, everyone thinks, well, Mahomes won one. He's going to win like 3. It's like, no, that's not the way the NFL works.
I think
like,
you're overanalyzing the situation, though. I think you've taken a too complex analysis of it, and I'm not disagreeing with anything you've said.
Yeah,
the analysis should simply be a rookie who's doing well in his rookie year.
Yes,
his price will be absurd.
Yes,
to risk.
Yes,
in that year.
Yes,
it's buying a rookie in his rookie year
buying
that's
the hype.
Doing well.
Yeah, it's.
Has the worst upside on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy Roethlisberger and Brady and all that, and even Mahomes, who I think is way overpriced.
Hey, now the guy I would maybe buy right now is Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
After he gets hurt, if you think.
Okay. So that I actually got this written down.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Okay.
All right. So. But
we are talking about it, John.
No, but no. Let's talk about it. So I've had a lot of questions from customers about Burrow. They're like, should I buy? Should I sell? Should I whatever? So I've explained this to my customers this way, and I want to see if you agree with me. And I don't really care if you do because I'm right. But
awesome.
So
I love those conversations.
So when a player, let's say a star player, a rookie like Burrow, whatever, he goes down, right? He goes down. He's gonna be out for a year. Tommy John.
We don't even know if he's gonna be back next year.
No, fair enough. Tommy John, blow out your knee, whatever, right? Yep. This is what happens in the market. Everybody holding is willing to sell at a discount, right? And everybody who's a believer is willing to buy. The problem is the people holding will not discount the card far enough to get the believers willing to buy. So what happens is nobody makes the transaction until he comes back from injury.
Now
the bid ask is way too wide.
But the answer to that, or the solution to that, is an auction. And there's plenty of Burrows being auctioned.
But what I'm saying is the holder will not lower his price to the equilibrium point, to the point at which the transaction will happen.
It depends.
And the buyer will not come up enough to make it. So what ends up happening is nothing happens.
There's no movement. There's no
volume.
Yeah, there's no volume.
If we're talking stocks,
everything's being held.
What I've been telling everybody, I'm like, if you're a holder, you're going to have to hold.
Yep.
Don't even think about like, oh, maybe I can get 70%. Nope, you're not going to get that. You're going to have to go down to
don't do it
40% to get rid of all your stock.
Yeah,
30%.
There's no point.
Right?
Why take the bath? You're better off holding.
The buyer to buy, and the buyer, you're gonna, I'll go 40% off. The buyer's like, nah.
No, it's too.
Nah, I need 30. So what happens is nothing happens.
Right.
So here's the deal: if you're holding Burrow, be prepared to hold him.
Yep.
And if you don't have Burrow, you're not going to get any.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. I think there's enough volume of cards.
I'm not talking about anecdotal.
And
I'm talking about volume-wise.
Sure.
That's effectively what's going to happen.
And keep in mind another fact of some of us are forced to hold Burrow because they're all sitting at PSA. So, like, there's another fact of, like, I'll say this much. If you're a believer in Burrow, one of the ways you hold him is you actually send him into grade.
I actually told a customer that. He goes, should I send in the Burrow? They're like, now's the best time.
Now's the best time because you're not going to sell him anyway. Right. So, like, there's no point. In other words, you're basically you're doubling down. Here's what you're doing. If you believe in a stock, the stock is dropping and you're doubling your position or you're adding to your position.
No, but you're right. Yeah. If you are a believer and you're holding, you should just be grading everything.
Yep, I agree. Now, back to Herbert for a second. I want to make this point. So, when you think about quarterbacks dominate the sports card market.
What?
I know, big shocker. Big shocker, right? What makes a good quarterback, because everybody's talking about, like, Herbert's having, like, record rookie.
Really
he's
nice
having a record rookie year.
Yeah,
right?
he's a really nice.
Okay, but can I remind you of something? A guy named Baker Mayfield set the rookie record for touchdown passes 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what Herbert is, at least from my standpoint, is not what he's done in terms of numbers, but how he looks when he's playing.
Okay, he looks
like
the
a
part,
pro
but here's the problem.
Baker Mayfield really.
So does Matthew Stafford. He looks the part, and guess what? He plays for a dumpster.
Oh no,
fire,
yeah.
Right.
So does Matt Ryan.
And so does Matt Ryan.
Nah.
And so does Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
And so here's what people don't realize.
I wouldn't put Baker in terms of the way he plays.
Baker Mayfield was hot in 2018 in cards as Justin Herbert is.
Yeah.
He was literally exploding.
That's true.
And you know who else was just like that? A guy named Jimmy Garoppolo. The moment he got traded from the Patriots, and the reality is, for those of you guys listening, I'm not. I mean,
we're not bashing or upping
but I am giving you. I'm giving you my opinion.
Right.
I have a Justin Herbert Silver Phoenix Auto. It's at PSA. The moment that thing gets back, it's selling.
Yeah, me too.
Because you sell this excitement. I mean, because
the wave,
and here's why. Next year, a guy named Trevor Lawrence is coming out.
Nope.
And guess what? He's going to look even better than Justin Herbert as a rookie.
Well, even if he doesn't, again, it doesn't matter because in the rookie year,
right.
If they do anything, their cards are going to be worth way more versus rest than they will any time in their career.
So to that point of the group of text thread guys, one of the guys I told him, he texted a picture out of a blue Prism Herbert, numbered to 49, that just finished on auction for like $1,200.
Right.
It's not even autographed.
Right.
I literally was like, wow, that's about a $300 card.
Right.
Literally, here's what I said to these guys is, even if you believe in Herbert, sell that card now for $1,200.
Reacquire.
And guess what? This offseason, it's exactly what I said. This offseason, you can buy that card back for $300-$400. I guarantee it.
The best time to buy that card is right when the new product is hitting the shelves and everybody wants Trevor Lawrence.
Right. Yes.
Then you're like, all right, time to buy Herbert.
Yes. Yeah, you want to be selling Herbert now and buying him back. Like, the beauty of sports cards is you can lock in a profit. You can get in and out of a position. Yeah. You can get in and out of a player. Like, I think the money that's the most the two most secure ways to make money in the sports card flipping game in the short term is buying the off-season teams, selling them in season, and then buying raw and selling graded. You know, I mean, those are like, and then you don't have to necessarily hold, like, dude, you don't even know. I remember a guy who had a significant amount of high-end Baker Mayfield the summer of 2019. So we're going into his second season, right? And there's all this excitement on in the offseason about, man, the Browns are gonna be in the playoffs. They're all
the Browns made a bunch of signings.
They were like the third team in Vegas odds to win the Super Bowl.
No,
How insane is that?
They signed Beckham. They signed.
Well, they have a bunch of good defensive players. Garrett. Yeah. I mean, they draft all these early. And guess what?
A good team.
The week before the first game, this guy was at the show in Bloomington, and he unloaded like $8,000 worth of Baker. And I thought to myself, smartest move you could ever made. Because guess what? Even if he has an awesome season, like
he was already on high.
The upside versus the risk. Right. In other words, the upside might have been like a 20 to 40% bump. The risk was 0 to 0.
Not 0, but like 70%, 60%.
Exactly. So
80%.
Anyway, I mean, and when you think about QBs, the only thing that takes a guy beyond his rookie year hype, like a Herbert, like a Baker, it's an MVP, a Super Bowl, and a Super Bowl MVP. Yeah. And then once you get one, like Aaron Rodgers, like I'd have to look back at his prices.
You could ride that wave for a while.
You could ride that wave for a while, but has Aaron Rodgers really gotten a bump past that? Has he past his first Super Bowl? I'd have to look at.
He hasn't gotten. No, with Rodgers, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong.
And Rodgers, talent-wise, is maybe the most talented quarterback in the league.
Well, here's what happened. I think with Rodgers, and this is just going off of just gut.
Yeah.
Is he wins the Super Bowl, and he's a very good quarterback. It's not like he was badass. He's not Eli Manning.
No, he's won a couple MVPs.
Anyway,
that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And so what happens is he didn't get a bump in an issue of like in 1 year he went up 30%. Right. But he was just worth more the next year than he was the previous year.
Right.
And he did that for 10 years.
And he's continued.
And so now you look at it. What's his top rookie?
We just sold a PSA 10 base paper for like $400.
Yeah. So my guess is 5 years ago it was $225. And it just keeps rising.
It's
and he's making his way to the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Too. Every year.
So he's been the MVP twice, 2011 and 2014. So he won the Super Bowl in 2009.
Okay.
And then he's won two MVPs since, and he's led the league in passing back in 2016. He's been an 8-time Pro Bowler.
I think he just keeps increasing.
To be honest, let me ask you this question. Who do you think, once Brady retires, is the face of the NFL?
The face of the NFL? Well, it's not Rodgers because he's too old.
Do you think it's Mahomes?
He might already be.
Do you think right
he's
now
already the face?
Do you think Mahomes is more the face than Rodgers?
Right.
Like I see both of them in a lot of ads.
Right now, yes.
Right? Yeah,
and
okay.
I would argue Mahomes might be the face of the NFL over Brady right now.
I mean, he's the young face for sure. Like we were talking about this. This is an interesting idea when it comes to sports cards.
I mean, it's hard because Brady's so marketable.
So like when Babe Ruth was a baseball player,
as opposed to when he drove stock cars.
When he retired and stopped playing baseball,
okay,
or died and
he was
no
a
longer
baseball player his entire life.
His whole entire life. So when he was actually playing in his playing career, baseball was the most popular sport in the country, right? And he was the most popular player.
Yes.
And so his celebrity exceeded like the baseball fans, right? Because he was this iconic. Do you think football is that, or is basketball that now? As far as the most popular sport and the ability to, like, you walk down the street in Babe Ruth's day, someone didn't have to be a baseball fan to know who he was. Now, if you walk down the street and ask someone who Mike Trout is, the non-baseball fan has no idea who he is. Do you think they know who anyone but Tom Brady is as far as football? Like,
yeah, but here's the thing. It might be even because your average person's gonna recognize who LeBron, but not Giannis.
They're gonna recognize Jordan,
not Giannis,
because Jordan transcended basketball.
Jordan.
Right? Yep.
Who else are they recognizing in the NBA?
That's a great Curry.
Who?
Curry.
Maybe.
Curry because he was so likable and popular, and he kind of
then won all those championships. Yep. Okay, who else?
That Durant maybe, but no,
Durant.
Durant's not as likable as Curry.
Okay, so all right, so that's two. In football, Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the insurance company, who is it? State Farm? No, State Farm has Rodgers and Mahomes, right? And it's kind of like the older, younger.
No, but so we got three already. I'm trying to think if there's any running backs or wide receivers. No.
I mean, back in the day, do you think Walter Payton was like that? I mean, do you think?
I don't think you would have reckoned. Well, the problem with football is they wear helmets.
Yeah.
And so you have to be in some sort of media. I mean, Peyton was in a little bit of commercials, but
I'd say Peyton Manning. Yeah, Peyton Manning when he was playing. Now.
Yeah, well, Peyton Manning was in a lot of commercials. Yep. So I would argue it's probably even because I mean, we got 2 up on basketball and football, but there's also 5 times.
And you know what? What's interesting is I think Jordan by himself in a lot of ways elevated basketball above baseball in the 90s, right? Yeah. Because his celebrity was so much bigger.
I would think that basketball is the cooler sport.
Yep.
But more people like football by far.
And I think fantasy football is a big part of that.
Right.
There's so few games that you get into each game.
Right. And I also think that I think it's kind of like so I'm not really on Twitter, but like I hear about how Twitter is.
Sure.
And it's like people think that the way people talk on Twitter is the way the culture is and the way the world works. But it's something like only 13% of the people have Twitter accounts.
Yeah, it's a super small.
And so this tiny number of people are driving culture. But when most people are not on Twitter and they're actually the actual bulk, I think this kind of works that way where basketball seems like it's more popular because it's the loudest.
Sure.
But football is still the winner.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, what fills stadiums with 100,000 people on a Saturday in the middle of Nebraska?
Right.
It's not their basketball team.
Right. And that's a lot to it. So football, on a player standpoint, they're wearing helmets and what have you.
Yeah.
But from a sports standpoint, it's like it's one game a week.
It's a big deal. I think football is like the new America's pastime.
I would agree with that.
And yet basketball has the global factor, which I think is what elevates LeBron maybe above Brady. I mean, did I tell you about this study? I would actually, one of the next times, I'm going to make a note to pull this up, but they did a study of the 100 most famous popular. They used a series of metrics to determine popularity of athletes globally.
Oh, cool.
Top 100. And they used something like endorsement deals, Twitter followers, all these things, right? Google searches,
now, we do
all
know
these.
That these are not scientific studies.
No, right. No.
It's just like, it's a cool article.
Yep.
We make a power matrix.
Yep, power matrix. Yeah. And guess what? In the top 100, there was not a single baseball player.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There was not a single hockey player.
That makes sense.
I believe the only football player was Tom Brady.
Okay.
And there was not a single I think the top 10 was all soccer and cricket. Cricket actually had as many as soccer.
I mean, we're talking about a global sport, soccer for sure. Cricket, I'm surprised about.
Cricket blew me away because like India and like some of the Asian countries, like that's actually probably their number one.
Who is the basketball player on the list?
So on the top in the top 100, I think they had to be current playing.
Oh,
I think LeBron. At the time it was Kobe and LeBron, and maybe like Curry were the only in the top like 20, 30. But like think about that, like. Of all the American sports,
right?
We didn't have a single American in the top 10, I believe. I'm going to go back and double check that.
That's interesting.
Isn't that crazy? So, anyway, to the soccer point.
I mean, soccer is such a significantly bigger sport than anything we have.
And recently, I've had conversations with quite a few friends who are big soccer fans who are, like, it seems to be gaining traction in the United States as far as, like,
I don't know.
They're
They've
cheering
been
for
saying
teams.
That for 30 years.
Yeah.
And everything as a little kid, soccer is going to be the next big thing. And
it's too boring for me. So
here's the thing: like
and
every little kid for the last 20 years has played soccer, and they thought that was going to lead to professional soccer being a big deal, and it just doesn't happen. Like,
here's what it is too: is it's not tied to the culture the way it is.
No,
it's
not. It's just it really is like you play soccer until you're 11 and then you stop playing.
Right, but you know what's interesting is your point. Oh my gosh, I can't even think. Who's the guy who just died? Maradona, the hand of God goal, the guy from Argentina.
I don't know, nor do I care about anything.
He was 84 World Cup champ.
Okay.
He was the best soccer player in the world, and he just died. I think he was like 60. And so they were literally talking about how like there was riots in all these cities and like mourning and like people were just like devastated. Like it felt to me like Michael Jordan. Like, it was Kobe Bryant, but a lot more. Like, you saw it localized in L.A. with Kobe, but, like, this was like, oh, my goodness. Like, this guy changed soccer. And so everyone said he was he played after Pele, but before Messi. So he was the guy, you know. But, yeah.
Well, I got,
yeah, what else you got, John?
Let's see what I got here.
Besides fake Pokemon.
Just a little tidbit. I just wrote it down. So, I had got 2 SGC orders back. I sent one on 7/27. I got it back on 11/16. I sent another one 2 weeks later, and I got it 4 days later. I don't know what that means, so use the information.
Say that one more time.
So I sent one July 27th, and then I sent another one August 12th.
Okay. And you got them almost back to back.
I got them back within 4 days of each other.
Yeah.
And we're done 2 weeks. Well, so I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's speeding up or what.
No, here's some of the information I'm putting together on SGC.
I will tell you this, though. I belong to an SGC group on Facebook.
Yeah.
They jump around like crazy. The people will get stuff back that they submitted in August, and there'll be people who submitted in June still waiting.
Yep.
And that happens all the time. People are like, what the hell is going on here? So I don't know.
Here's what I'll say about SGC. I had one customer approach us who wanted to send to SGC. What up, Mark? And he sent, I think, 2 or 3 orders. And when we got him back, after I think he went through and sold some of them, I think he basically said, I think I'm kind of done with SGC. Like, the motivation to go to SGC initially was they're a little bit cheaper and quicker.
The faster.
And it ended up being about the same. And I think the difference in resale was significant enough to kind of go.
Well, no, because I got mine back in 4 months. I had sent a PSA order a month prior, and that's still in research and ID. I'm not going to get that for 3 more months.
No, you might get that in another month. So I'm thinking.
I hope so.
Well, okay, let me tell you. I just got a bulk order back that I sent in May to PSA, and I sent 2 SGC orders.
3 months behind.
No, because those came about 2 months ago. So it was maybe a month or two faster, but like I think the resale, and I think that's one of the hopes here with the Nat Turner acquisition of PSA is SGC capitalized on the frustration of the long time, and they got slammed with a bunch of cards. Yeah. But then once people realized, like, it wasn't like they got them back in 3 weeks or 2 months. Right. It still took 4 months. No. Then they're like, I think the initial excitement kind of wore off.
Now I will tell you this about SGC. I like SGC a lot.
I like their slabs.
And I like their slabs.
The bow tie.
When I got some stuff back, here's what I noticed: the really bright cards, the ones with white borders, the Pokemon full arts with lots of colors.
Oh, you're saying Pokemon to SGC?
Yeah. They look great in those holders.
Do people care about Pokemon? Does the Pokemon market
I had 4. I sold 2 of them. I don't know that.
On eBay or in
my
store?
Customers shop. But what I will say this, I was looking up. I had an AJ Brown Optic rookie, the base card.
Yep.
And I looked it up to get a comp, and it looks so much better in an SGC holder than it does in a PSA holder. It's not even close because of the white borders. The
aesthetically,
contrast is just really nice.
The black. All black with
versus the white border. I mean, and the full art Pokemon look great. You know, so I was like, I don't know.
For those of you guys that are familiar with it, a PSA case itself is actually clear around the card.
Yeah.
So whatever you set that card on is what the background color is going to be.
And so
whereas SGC actually has a
clear case.
Yeah.
Like,
whereas SGC actually inserts a black insert.
But here's also what I've noticed. Like I had a My House John Morant.
Yep.
It's such a dark card. It doesn't look great in the holder.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So again, I don't know what I'm going to do with this information, but it looks really nice.
One benefit about SGC is
they're harder graders.
Well, but like if you send a Jordan rookie to SGC, you don't have to pay an upcharge. You don't have to pay $75 to grade it. You can grade it for the original $10 price. In other words, you don't have to pay. Whereas PSA, you have to pay based on the declared value.
They have value categories.
Yep. No, but you don't have to. You can submit it at the lowest category. Just like Beckett. Beckett, I can submit a Jordan rookie for the $15 bulk rate.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you don't have to. Whereas PSA is the only one that forces you to.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's another thought. So in other words, if I had a 52 mantle, it might cost me $2,000 to grade it with PSA, and it might cost me $30.
I will tell you this about SGC though. They are the toughest graders of all the companies.
Wrong.
Oh, okay. So you're fighting me on this?
Agree to disagree. Yep.
You're fighting me on this?
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of people say if they get SGC 10 gold, you would send those to Beckett, and you got a high chance of black label on those.
Yeah, no, that's the same as a black label. Yep.
Yeah, but
they have a higher category, but they're not tougher graders. In other words, an SGC.
Yeah.
And here's why I'll argue: 50 million people in the market. Yeah. Tell me that PSA is a harder grader. No, they do. They do, no, John, your
Clint,
opinion
Clint,
is not somehow weighted heavier than 50 million
buyers.
Are you
telling me that Coca-Cola is 1,000 times better than
Shasta
Bob's Cola at the grocery store? Shasta? It's not. It's the same quality.
No, here's what I'm telling you. John, that's a great argument, but it's actually not.
It's an irrational position.
No. Okay,
it's an irrational argument.
No, here it is. Here's my argument. A PSA 10 and a SGC 10 of the identical card traded 100 times each. The PSA 10 is outselling the SGC 10 by 20+%, which tells me they're a harder grader because the market isn't stupid. The market doesn't pay more for the name.
We just explained that collectors are weird and kind of dumb.
No, they're actually very smart. Hey, it's like the stock market. The stock market is smarter than politicians. It's smarter than you can't.
Do you understand the power of branding?
You can't manipulate the stock market. You can't manipulate a billion consumers.
Sure you can.
They make a decision it can be something can be marketed. I'm not agreeing.
It's branding. Like, there's a reason why Coke outsells Shasta. Thank you, Shasta. There's a reason why, Rolex is selling a million times more
I've
than
sent
some
cards
other brands
to SGC.
Quality.
I've sent cards to SGC that I knew wouldn't grade at PSA, and they graded at SGC. I mean, I know that you have an emotional attachment to them because you sent to them first, which hats off. I'll honor that. You graded cards long before anyone I know, or I was about 6 or whatever.
Well, no, I found out that I graded the first year they were in business.
Which, I'll give you this. I'd say they are slightly behind. I think they're a tougher grader than Beckett.
You think Beckett's not a heavy grader?
So I think Beckett, I don't know if have we talked about the nuances of who grades what tougher? Because there's a very clear distinction.
I've never remembered it.
Okay, so let's just hit this quick. So people ask me this all the time in the shop. Why would you send a card to Beckett or PSA? What would be the difference? And I said, well, there's a clear advantage to sending an off-centered card to PSA. They grade centering easier.
Okay.
And Beckett grades corners easier. So I regularly will take a perfectly centered card with bad corners and go to Beckett because Beckett values centering more, and PSA vice versa. Does that make sense? So PSA standard. PSA standard for centering is wider for their PSA 10. Today I just got a card back.
What is the biggest range for centering to get a 10?
So 55, centering
45?
65 30. Let me pull up their standards again on PSA.
Can't be right. 60-40 for a 10.
60-40, but the reverse is 75-25.
Oh, right.
So we're talking the front of the card here.
But 60-40 is nonsense for a 10.
I mean, it can be distinctly off-center. Like, we just got a card back that graded a 10, and it's visibly off-center.
No, 60-40 means you look at it and you go, it's off immediately. You go, it's off.
It's not to exceed, so they say 55-45 or 60-40 on the front and 75-20 on the reverse. So a really bad off-center reverse can cost you a 10, even if the front is perfectly centered. People forget about that. Like, you do need to flip it over because I've seen perfectly centered cards on the front that
80-20.
are like 80-20 or 90-10. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, gosh, that's actually bad enough.
That's nonsense that a 60-40 can be a 10.
Yeah.
Because 60-40 literally means you look at it and immediately say it's OC.
It's OC, yep.
It's not, you don't got to look at it or anything.
And so,
it's like, it's off.
So here's the deal.
55-45 is hard. Sometimes you're like,
if you have a perfectly sharp corners, great surface, but it's slightly off center, always go to PSA.
Interesting.
The opposite is true.
You got kind of a wonky corner.
We sent a really bad cornered Ultimate Collection 2001 Ichiro auto.
Okay.
We sent it to Beckett because the corners were so bad. I'm like, this thing's like a PSA 7. Okay. And it got an 8.5. They gave it like an 8 on the corners, and the corners were white, bad. I should show you a picture of this. I mean, is
that possible that it's relative to the card though? Because it's a thicker card, I'm assuming.
No. And here's my best example. I think I've showed you this one before.
Yeah, the Jordan.
Who grades that card?
That's the one that you bumped it up.
2.5 grades different.
Yeah.
With Beckett. So
explain what you're showing me.
So Jordan rookie that I got last January was graded a 6 by PSA, which I thought was undergraded.
Well, so I thought it was a bad grade. Anyway.
I thought it was a bad grade on top of it, but specifically, I mean, this card is super sharp. It's very, very well centered. Like it's probably close to 55-45 centering. So crossing it over to Beckett,
they value centering more.
They value centering more. The corners aren't bad, but there was a little edge issue.
Yeah.
And they gave this thing, and believe it or not, they're so hard on centering, they still only gave this an 8.5 in centering.
Well, let me ask you. So you're saying, well, it's a 2.5 point swing.
It should have been about a 1.5.
No, but what I'm saying is there's a chance that was really only a 1 or 1.5 point swing because it was just badly graded by PSA in the first place.
It was hard. It was
and if you would have sent it back
graded
to them, they would have gave you a 7.
Could have maybe gotten a
7.5 or whatever.
But there's a reason why if you look at the market on like a Beckett 9, I'll just give you an example of a card.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter SP rookie 93.
Yeah.
A Beckett 9. Yes, you do. Yeah.
When am I getting that back, Clint?
That's a great.
Come on, Clint. What are you doing over there?
That's awful, dude. They're 6 months out on the 30-day order right now. I don't know where.
What's your problem, Clint? How dare you?
I know it's all my fault.
Like why?
I work.
I
don't know if you realize this, but I actually work for Beckett, SGC, and PSA.
Well, let me explain what I'm doing here. Is
John's being one of my customers.
So Clint, before I had my store, Clint was really motivated to get K-Bid up and running. And he's like, "Hey, John, I said I was gonna do
I
it."
was motivated to make money.
Yeah,
and
like,
liquidate.
He's like,
junk.
"John, when are you gonna do K-Bit?" I'm like, "I don't have a joint, you weirdo. Like, I can't do it." And he's like, "Hey, do it at my shop." We talked about this before.
Yep.
So I ran it out of your shop, and thank you for that. That
you
was
got
awesome.
to experience the day-to-day.
Not only thank you, but you're welcome.
Yes,
right?
yes,
so,
yes.
I cleaned out his back room
yes.
twice.
Yes.
So
allowed me to buy a lot of junk and clean up my upstairs. Which
yeah, there you go.
You know.
And so what happened was I was just there a lot in 20.
Couple days a week,
2019.
almost every week.
I was there. Maybe a couple days a week almost on average. So maybe more like 4 days and
off
a week, and then off for a week or whatever. So I just and I hung out too, and so I noticed this pattern where I would be kind of goofing off, but I'd be on the floor. And a customer would just be like, "Hey, did my PSA order come back?" And you and Mike would go, "Oh, not yet. When is it coming back?" I'm not sure. Looks like a couple more months. And the way they would respond is like, he's like, "Come on, Mike. Like, how come it's taking so long?" And Mike's like, I don't know.
Thank you for this, John. This is
he's like, "I don't know." And he's like, I just find this ridiculous. But it wasn't that he was complaining about PSA. He was complaining about Mike, or he was complaining about you. And, of course, I'm in the background going, "What's your problem, Clint? How dare you?" And then, I'm kind of making fun of your customer. I shouldn't have done that on your floor. But I have the habit of being like, "Yeah, man," and piling on. Because what I'm doing is that customer hears me and goes, "Oh, I'm being ridiculous."
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
But so what I did was I said when I opened my shop, and I told my customers this.
It's my fault.
I told my customers this. I said, "I'm going to start submitting some PSA. I just send a few cards for people who just want to get their feet wet."
Yep.
And I said, if you complain about how long it takes as if I had something to do with it, you owe me $1.
Wow. Did they agree to that?
No one's ever given me – yeah, I go, "You owe me $1." And they're laughing. I'm like, I'm dead serious. If you have an inflection in your voice that I have something to do with how long.
And John's been married for how many years? So you know an inflection in the voice.
John's
like, I can pick up on
and
that.
I'm like,
I know.
"You're going to give me $1." And I'm like, "You can complain about me all day long because it's not $1 for the day. It's $1 for every time you say anything." And I said, I don't want to hear it. If you want to complain about PSA, complain about PSA. I'll join in. Yeah, what a bunch of jerks. Don't complain as if I did something.
Right.
So I learned that from your shop. I was just like, nah, it's like a swear jar.
So I'll give you my little nuanced adjustment because Mike just cracks up. We get a phone call and it's somebody about the PSA order and he laughingly hands me the phone and just walks away and lets me. Well, I mean, he's like, because he's like, "I'm gonna let you deal with this," As you know, what I've started doing is, and I would encourage you to do this, when I have a customer drop off cards, I have them take a photo of their cards and the sheet so that their phone has a timestamp. It has a date, and they can look at the photo and remember what cards they have. Because I have all these customers call me, and I love our customers. So if they're listening, I'm happy to do this. This is my job, so I'm not complaining. But they'll call me "Hey, I forgot what cards I brought. Can you look up my sheet?" And I'm like, "Just so you know, I have 60 orders with 10 sheets. So I'm going to have to look through 600 sheets. So because they all lose the sheets, which I would lose the sheet, but you're not going to lose your phone. Right. So you can look back at your photos and find it.
I literally had a customer take a picture of my
form.
My form. My final list that I sent off PSA.
Yeah, so what I actually do, and then now, today I took 2 or 3 calls, "Hey, any update on PSA?" And all I can do is the problem is
tell them where you're at.
Well, I can pull up their order, but I have to find which order they are and scroll through them all, and then I tell them, it's on assembly.
And you send them every couple of them. Now, how many do you send versus how many you send to German?
Very few to Jeremy. There has to be a specific reason. Right now, it's probably 20% with Jeremy. If I don't have enough Pokemon, or if I don't have, let's say,
you're just trying to hit minimum.
No, it's or right now during the tree season, this last week order, I brought him everything because I got
to the point now. I've already sent 4 or 5 people to Jeremy because this is not a revenue stream I'm really dying to
obtain.
And it sounds good in theory, but I'm just doing it as a customer service thing. These guys know me, they trust me, and they want to get their feet wet.
Yep.
And you know what? If I get 15 cards, then I can add 5 of my own and make it up to 20 minimum.
By the way, it is a real revenue stream for us.
Yeah.
But part of it is this. I got to the place where I'm like, if I'm going to be entering my own cards, that's already, and if I'm already shipping my own cards,
that's what I'm
then,
saying. So that makes sense. So, But like I had, there were two things about Jeremy that worked out real well.
But I like Jeremy, and there's times where I send him my own cards because I just don't have
time or whatever. And so what happened was By
the way, shout out to Jeremy. I know he's trying to recruit me to get all my cards.
What up,
he wants all the PSA.
Yeah, I want all your money forever.
I can't do it, Jeremy.
And so what happens is I'm like, well, the other thing too is if someone wants to send a ton of cards, there's zero reason to give them to me. I need my money up front.
Oh, you don't collect up front?
I do collect up front.
Oh yeah.
So if you got 200 and Jeremy doesn't, it's like that's a massive, especially if it's bulk. If it's express, then you're gonna get it back in a month. Who cares?
Yep.
But I was thinking about. I'm like, there's no way I could not take money up front because what would happen is, not every time. But even if it happened 1 out of 100, it would be like, hey man, you got the order back. I go, yeah, okay, so your bill's like $700. They're like, oh man, I'm a little short. I'm like, oh, that's too bad. So now I got cards that are not mine. Well, kind of mine.
They can become yours.
They're kind of mine because I got money into them.
Yep.
And then it's going to be like, hey, can you give me like 20 of them? And I'll like, no.
Yeah.
And now this guy's like, oh, why are you being such a jerk about it?
Which, by the way, just so you know, that's never happened to us.
No, but what I'm saying is, but you take money up front, right?
Yep, but I'll say this much.
It wouldn't happen.
We didn't always take money up front.
Oh, you didn't? And that never happened?
It never happened. Beckett, we did not take money up front initially. Then they started charging right away. They used to not.
Right.
So Beckett used to do what PSA does. But the other thing is, generally, someone sending a card that even if it doesn't grade well is worth more than the grading fee, right?
No, I understand that, but what if you just happen to be short? What if you just happen to be short the cash? I mean, I know you get it. I mean, eventually, but it's going to be this weird, like, all right, now I got to hold on to these cards, and you got to go ask your aunt for, $500, and you're going to sell the card. It's just, if I get the money up front, here's the card, it's a happy day.
Yeah, you got it.
Right?
Well, yeah, because part of it is, here's why we take money up front.
But here's the thing, though. If you're sending 200 cards at $20 a piece, and you wait 9 months, and you're out $2,000, that's a massive advantage Jeremy has for someone sending a lot of cards. And that's a big deal.
And here's why we take the money up front, to your point, is I don't trust how do I put this nicely? I don't trust their ability to necessarily manage their finances well enough to be responsible. Yeah. And so in other words, here's what I tell them is like, if you can get your own and pay it later. Yeah. Like I actually know guys who have had their own cards on their own account tied up at PSA because they couldn't afford to pay for them. And so they hold them until...
Even though the cards are worth 10 times more than the fee?
Which, to be honest, that's another whole conversation about like financial, like not overextending yourself. Like you shouldn't be grading cards if you can't, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to put yourself in that place.
But it's very weird if you have a $1,000 bill and a $8,000 worth of cards. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But if you don't have the 1,000, you don't have the 1,000.
Yeah, and they don't take cards for payment.
Like when that was brought to me, that was somebody wanted to give me like a couple hundred cards, which I wasn't really looking forward to doing anyways. But he's like,
which you should. That's
he's like,
free money.
you need payment up front. I'm like, yeah. And I didn't really give it much thought, but it took me all of like 2 minutes to figure out all the pitfalls of not taking payment up front, And so, but there's a huge advantage.
I mean, right now I have a bunch of customers who I've called 2 or 3 times whose cards are back.
Oh, by the way, you're chasing people down.
And they haven't come and picked them up, which I don't care because they already paid. If they hadn't paid, I'd be like, come on, guys. Like,
because they're billing you. I don't care.
And to be honest, if they never pick it up, it's just going to sit in that box until then, but I already got paid. So that's... And
do you have a point at which it becomes abandoned?
I don't think I have any abandoned. No, I do have 2 cards that I've literally called the guy. They didn't pass with JSA. They were autographed cards.
So they just
I'm like, I'd rather have you pick them up.
I haven't put that down where after a certain time they just become
I haven't. I mean, I'm not going to ever sell them.
Well, right. Well, what I was thinking is like that happens in K-Bid sometimes.
Yep.
And I'm just like, I hate it. I'm just like, there's one that just, I've waited 6 weeks. Now, it's some of your stuff that didn't get picked up.
Yep.
I waited 6 weeks or maybe 8 weeks just in case, and it sucks because then it's taking up half my shelf.
Yeah, you gotta just.
And I'm like, I got a small shop, but for me and my brain, like I can't just like, all right, he paid for it, but never picked it up.
Okay, so that it's almost like,
and
what do you do?
Like,
what do you do then? Yeah,
right, and it's just like it sucks that I had to hold it for 2 months. You know.
Now you could get paid for it twice because we'll run.
No, yeah, I will, but really all he's doing is paying for storage.
He's basically paying storage.
It wasn't worth that much anyway.
By the way, side point on PSA, I actually sent them an email to become one of their recognized directors, or on PSA site you can type in who's a dealer.
Yeah, I'm planning on doing that myself. How'd that go?
So here's the qualifications for that. One of them is you guys good doing some sign language?
How long are we into the podcast? 1 hour 30. All right, we'll have to wrap it up
pretty soon. Wrap it up.
I got to teach you some sign language, Evan.
Evan's locked in. Evan's hunting for deals on Facebook for sure. One of the qualifications is you have to have spent $25,000 in grading fees with them in the last year.
Oh, that's good to know.
And so I actually was I
might get there.
I was just short at the time, partly because in the last year there was a season where we sent all of our cards through someone else.
Oh, sure.
And then we started doing all of our cards again in the spring. And he goes, hey, as soon as the end of the year, send me back. And I have a bunch of orders that are popping, which will hit that.
I mean, I probably have.
But then I'm like, dude, do you realize when that happens, the amount of leads that will come through their site is going to be. I'm excited. I mean, I'm interested to see.
Well, now I'm wondering maybe I should be sending like I said.
Yeah.
Just to hit that so I can be on there.
So basically it's like, hey, if you spend enough with us, we'll let you advertise on our website. Absolutely. That's kind of what they're giving.
So I got one last thing. So I had a customer submit 3 cards.
Okay.
Got them back. Got them back on 5 weeks because they were cool cards like that. One was a Bowman Gold LeBron James.
So Express.
Yeah, Express.
Yeah, Express.
LeBron James, Bowman Gold got a 7. I'm pretty sure it was going to be a 7, but we were hoping for an 8. You always hope for the 1 grade up.
Yep.
The other one was.
Does he want to sell it?
No. It's going right into the collection, right?
Come on.
And one was a Joe Montana relic auto to 5. It had the champion jersey laundry tag.
Who is it?
Joe Montana.
Out of what year?
Out of 5. I can't remember what the card was.
An earlier Ultimate Collection or something? Yeah.
Something like that. Wow, I think it was relatively modern.
Oh, it wasn't new.
Yeah, I think so. But it was just a really nice card. Sweet. Really nice card. That's staying with them. And
what that grade?
That one got an 8. And again, we were.
And did you grade the autos or just the card?
Just the card.
Yep.
And here's my position on it. That's actually a good.
That's a reason to go to Beckett. I never grade the auto with that.
I'll get to that after I'm done. Yep. So the third card, we were hoping for a 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think it's got a good shot. 2005 Topps autograph, autographs, right? Not some weird set, but Peyton Manning.
Wow.
Got a 10.
Nice.
Peyton doesn't sign. It's relatively early, 7th-year card.
Yep.
What do you think that's worth in 10? There's no comps. There's nothing around 05.
I have a fresh ink Peyton Manning auto right now.
Because that's the thing. I can't really comp it.
It's a BGS 9.5.
But no, I can't comp it with a 2015 card.
No, right.
I got to comp it with something early.
Yep.
And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's a very white bordered card, very simple.
This is an 06. Tell me how close that looks.
05. No, the Topps one is very much like a base card. It's a base.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's up and down. It's an up and down card. Yeah, okay.
It's just a really clean early Peyton Manning. But any idea?
My shooting from the hip 4 to 6.
Let's say you had to list it.
4 to 600. I'd list it for 600 probably.
600. All right, very cool.
Right in the 600 range.
All right. So what we were talking about, where I said I'll get back to it.
Evan,
you remember? I said I'll get back to it right in a second. I just talked about the Joe Montana.
Oh, the grading or that him wanting to sell that, or prior to that?
No,
the Express grade.
Remember. Oh well, we'll listen back to it and I'll be like, damn it, that's what we talked. So that was.
Well, let me say this to Steve or anybody else. Listen, we appreciate the feedback. We'd love more feedback. Make sure here's a little shout out. Make sure you, if you're listening, if you can subscribe, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible so we can go live. Whether it's out buying a collection in the store with someone, once in a while, I was saying this to some customers. We have, I wouldn't call them we have some athletes and different people that are connected to the sports world that come into the shop. I'd love to be able to go live with an interview, let you guys kind of get some inside content.
That's a big deal. One of my main things in terms of the subscription side is that 1,000 will really allow us to go live when we're driving to the National. next summer.
And when we're at the evening at the house
or
with all the guys at the
national.
yeah.
Absolutely. And so going live
so
is such a big deal for
so
us.
you guys subscribing is actually to help you get more content. It's not like just a thing for us. So we're pleading with you. We want your votes. No, we don't. Well, I mean, we do.
No,
and so send it to your friends. We want to get subscriptions up so that more people can.
Obviously, we want as many as we can get, but like the 1,000th and first person, not as important as everybody before them. You know,
right.
Like that 1,000th is such a big deal, and we'll be able to do some fun stuff if we can go live.
And so, yeah, guys, if you guys have topics and stuff and you want to comment topics you want us to talk about, maybe something that you want us to dive deeper on that we've hit on, you're like, hey, that one spend a little longer on that. You know,
and I like parlor games where we just say, for instance, and then we gotta figure it out, even though it's never
like.
Let's
finish with the parlor game.
All right.
I gift you $10 million.
Thanks.
And one of the caveats is you have to buy one card.
One card?
You have to buy one card, not with all of the money, but part of the deal is I'm giving you this money, and I want you to buy the card that you never would have bought had I not given you this $10 million. Like
I never would have bought, or the one I would have never been able to afford and been able.
I'll let you.
I already know what it is.
Okay, what is it?
It's if I remember correctly, Jackie Robinson of the Leaf rookie.
The Leaf rookie, 48.
Yeah, the Leaf rookie. As high grade as I can possibly.
It's like a very unique card because there's no wording on it. It's just a black and white photo of him.
Jackie Robinson.
Or the Bowman is the color where it's red.
Is that Bowman
blue.
I'm thinking of?
I think you're thinking of the Bowman.
Yeah.
It's a very cool card.
Probably the Bowman.
And it's super small. It's a mini card.
Yeah, it's like a square. Even though I hate
it's a square. I know
I hate small
that was
cards.
before like the card world figured out a standard size.
But it will be in a slab, so it won't matter.
Yep,
right?
it'll be protected.
But like he was my favorite player because. So I was a big baseball fan. I still am. Baseball's still my favorite sport.
Yep.
And I dove into the history because I'm a history guy.
So you love the movie 42?
And
great movie.
Like I just dove into history, and the thing about Jackie Robinson is watching tape of him stealing home.
Yeah.
Was just I'm a big fat fatty. Like I never stolen a base. I probably stole a base once in Little League, but
you stole a Twinkie.
I'm the fattest, slowest kid on the team. Like. There's no way. And so the concept, like even now when people steal home, like when Ellsbury does it, I'm just like, I just watched it. I'm like, I don't know how he did it.
You know who? My dad told me a funny story one time. They were playing. I want to say it was in the College World Series. Maybe we'll have to have him on and tell some of these stories. And he said he was in the dugout, and Dick Siebert, who was the coach of the Gophers, Paul Molitor came walking into the dugout, and Dick goes, "Where'd you come from?" And he goes, "I just stole home." The coach didn't even realize what just happened. He just stole it on his own. So Molitor stole home a bunch, like both in the pros and in college.
And then that one famous photo.
He's like, "How'd you get here?" He's like, "I just stole." I'm like, "That's awesome."
There's this one famous photo where Robinson's halfway down the line.
Yeah.
I'm like the set on that guy. Like you can't. I mean, what the heck? So he was. I was gonna name my first son Jackie.
Jackie, cool.
And I had a girl.
Very cool.
Girl.
You could have done Jackie with a girl too.
Yeah.
Decided to save it, yeah.
And so then instead I named my first daughter and my only child, Annie, one kid. Hey, Kirby, if you're listening, you're not going to get a brother and sister.
Oh, no.
But so I named her Kirby instead.
You remind me of my brother.
There's a Jack in the family.
You remind me of my brother. My brother Ben wanted a son. His fourth daughter came, and he named her Victoria, but they call her Tori for Tori Hunter. So she goes by Tori.
I like
so
that
it's
one,
the Victoria,
Tori,
yeah.
Very nice.
So
but you know what's funny about that was we named when I came up with that name. So I'm John Anderson. That's the most boring name in Minnesota.
Most common, John Reagan Anderson.
Well, I'm Reagan, but that's the only thing that's different about it. So John Anderson's just like, and it's really John's common, but Anderson's super common.
Yep.
And so I'm not gonna name her. I always had this joke in college. I was gonna name my kid
Johanna
Champagne Courvoisier, and then nobody else would have that name with Anderson. I was making some joke my freshman year, and but I was like, nice. I was naming Kirby, and I googled Kirby Anderson.
Yeah.
There are 6 women with that name on LinkedIn.
Wow.
That's how common Anderson is.
Wow.
With inherently a boy's name.
Wow.
So,
classic.
Common, but it's unique enough.
Good stuff.
All right, I think that's it. Please subscribe.
We'll talk to you hopefully next week. We'll see you guys again.